Hey everybody, it's Robot here from Vespa Motorsport and ScooterWest.com. Today I'm going to tell you what happens when you run a modern Vespa or Piaggio such as this MP3 250 out of oil. Pretty much most vehicles, if you run them out of oil, there's going to be some catastrophic damage. So today I'm going to start the scooter and let you hear how it sounds, because it still does run, and some of the horrible noises that come out of the motor. And then I'm going to show you some of the easy ways to diagnose that you have a failed crankshaft on pretty much any modern Vespa, whether it's a 50cc all the way up to a big 500 Piaggio Beverly or MP3 500, BV 350. Pretty much all the same parts fail. So let's get right into it. Hopefully the camera picks this up. I'm going to start the scooter, if it will even stay running, and hopefully you can hear the wonderful noises. And I'll tell you one thing, on the belt cover, we've actually disconnected the belt to rule out any bad noises from the transmission, because sometimes transmissions make abnormal noises that, you know, make somebody think that they got a blown motor. This one was clearly run out of oil, so let's see what happens here. Let's see. So it's pretty quiet right now. You can kind of hear the knocking on it, and it's easier with, you hear that? So that's a rod knock, that specific noise right there. So when it's idle and it's pretty quiet, eventually if you get to speed, the motor just stops, it locks up. So first of all, we're going to drain the oil. I'm going to show you what the oil looks like. That's always the first thing to do. If you pull the dipstick out and it comes out completely dry, and then you drain only 100 or 200 cc's of oil, well, damage is already done. So let's get over on the right side. We're going to drop the oil and see how that looks. So first of all, it is full of oil because the customer informed me that he went ahead and filled up the oil after realizing the motor was low. But the first telltale is you look a little bit in the oil. If you shine a light into the oil, you'll see metallic flakes in the oil. Camera's not going to pick it up very well, but that's the telltale that internal motor parts are worn to the point where oil flakes have come off them and it's present in the engine oil. The next thing we'll check is we'll pull the oil strainer out. This is a screen that catches the big chunks before they go into the motor. And you want to look at metal flakes on this, and I'll show you one. I could scrape up a couple flakes and they're going to be a lot more present on my finger. So when you see brass or copper colored flakes, there's already catastrophic damage done, specifically to the crankshaft main bearing. And this is pretty much with any scooter if it's run out of oil. Once it's out of oil, damage is typically done. So on the left side, I've removed the belt cover, have the belt disconnected from the pulley. The pulley's put back in place, but I'll show you something that kind of indicates a blown main bearing. So see that little bit of free play when I'm going clockwise, counterclockwise? It's taking very little resistance. And when there's that much wiggle, that means the bearing has failed. And you know, it's normal for it to turn with a lot of resistance because you're going against the compression. The fortunate thing is I'm pretty certain the top end has little damage to the motor. It's probably going to be salvageable. The motor runs just fine, idles and everything. Oftentimes when motors are severely burned up, they may also take out the piston and cylinder. So that's all stuff that will need to be inspected. But that loud metallic knocking noise, that's pretty much the end of the life for the crankshaft. So when a Vespa or Piaggio motor is run out of oil, specifically the big end bearing of the connecting rod in here has failed. So sometimes they lock up and the motor will be just stuck and won't go anymore, but typically they'll end up with an excessive amount of free play. This crankshaft, it's a used crankshaft, but there's no problem with it. But if you had the crankshaft out, you'd feel a little rocking motion going in and out. There should be no play at all in this. And the way this crankshaft is lubricated is from the oil pump through the pair of crank bearings that have a slot in them. There's pressurized oil, and it goes through this hole right here and then feeds this bearing, which is a plain bearing located inside this thing. And this whole assembly is all pressed together from the factory. When the main bearing on the connecting rod goes out, you just replace a complete crankshaft. You can watch my other video, I think it's a 3-part video on overhauling a Vespa GTS 300 motor. It's pretty much the same steps for all the other Piaggio motors. There's some bigger differences when you move on up to the 350 or 500 engines, but it's all the same components internally. And of course, at scooterwest.com, we have many of these parts in stock, so you're able to do a full rebuild that would include a crankshaft all at home. And there's some specialty tools. Of course, that several hour long video kind of covers every step of overhauling a Vespa or Piaggio 4-stroke motor. But I can tell you one thing, it's going to be expensive. With this MP3, it may be possible to find a used motor. You do have to realize a scooter such as this MP3 250, the newest motor you can find is going to be well over 10 years old, so it may have high miles and be quite worn itself. So sometimes you're taking a big risk by finding a used motor, especially on eBay or something, and paying a substantial amount of money to have it shipped to you. Here at Scooter West and Vespa Motorsport, typically I just rebuild it. This motor, I'm pretty certain I put a new crankshaft in it, and as long as it's not run out of oil or overheated would run without coolant or something, it should have quite a long service life after somebody making the mistake of running the motor out of oil once here. So thanks for watching. That was one of my tech quickies, just on how to figure out what's going on if you did make the mistake of running your scooter out of oil. Of course, if you've stumbled across this channel for the first time, consider subscribing and hit the like button. I have over 600 videos. Nearly all of them are all about servicing, accessorizing, and riding your Vespa or Piaggio scooter. Until next time, it's Robot here for Vespa Motorsport and ScooterWest.com. Thanks for watching.